This is the main guitar I'm using for this tour. This is the Montreal Premier, made by Godin in Montreal. And I'm very grateful to Robert Godin, the president. He let me have this guitar when I flipped over it. They've provided me with some other cool instruments as well. This one has really become like the sound, the main sound for the sort of clean jazz guitar thing. However, we're also working in more and more of the ESP, which I'll show you right now. This is my signature guitar, and outside of the trio, if I do like an instrumental gig, like just do ham band or something, I'll bring this. And I play this with Testament as well, usually in a different color. And for this, it works great. We're doing more and more moments of blues and funk, and sometimes I want to channel a Stratocaster sound. So I have this coil tap, and between this and the switch, I get a lot of different options for sound. The amplifier is a PV Classic 50. I've used Buddha amps often with the trio, but last year we couldn't get a Buddha out here, and my good friends at PV sent me over this Classic 50, and I kind of liked it a little too much. So this time I insisted we get another Classic 50, and I ended up getting one in the US as well. So for my trio stuff, it's working out great. I still use the Buddha, and in the studio I'll use a blend, but live this has become my main amplifier. Which brings us to the pedal board. So everything that's on the board, starting from the tuner. This is a basic tuner. That goes into this pedal, which is a Black Magic. It's made by a company in Greece called Crazy Tubes. That goes to this. This is called the Tube Dreamer, and this has been my main distortion sound. This one here is great, but it's more of like for special parts. It's saturated. This one is really my main sound for blues and rock tones, and sometimes I'll just switch on it for certain sections and then break it down, even within the jazz tunes. It's called the Tube Dreamer because it's based on a tube screamer, and each side is like a tube screamer, and you can play them together. So if I need like a real screaming sound, I can play them both.
So you stack them basically?
Yes. Yeah. So depending on the situation, sometimes I'll use one, sometimes I'll use the other. Sometimes I'll hit one, and then I'll hit the other. That's going into this long cable. This actually goes into the distillery, which is made by Tone Concepts. And this is something I can only say it really just makes every amp sound better. You could say it's like an EQ. You could use it as a boost as well by hitting the left side. I usually just keep it on. This one here, unfortunately, has seen better days. I've been using it as a boost just in blues moments. It gives it a special twang. Unfortunately, today, something happened with the jack, so it's in need of repair. But it's a nice pedal. I have two different delays, and I think of these in different sections. So I have for the distortion section, that's these pedals. For the EQ section, it's these two. For delays, it's these two. So this one right here, also I'm in need of a new one. This is from Buddha. This has obviously seen better days. It's missing knobs, but it still sounds great. And this is the one I keep on as my main delay. This is the carbon copy manufactured by Dunlop, and I use that more for special parts. If we have a couple slow tunes, the tune Veritas, which is an original, and also sometimes for the intro to Dream On, our version of it. I'll use that, and it gives it a very lush delay sound and almost a little bit of a chorus effect. So speaking of chorus, I have a proper chorus, and I use this in certain tunes. This is also manufactured by Dunlop, and lately I've been sneaking it in on some of the more jazzier swing tunes. I find it just thickens the sound, and it's a sound I used to wonder why so many jazz guitar players use chorus, and I swore I wouldn't, but once you start using it, you realize, it really helps with the phrasing. Dunlop also makes the flange, the EVH flange, and I don't use that so much here. Occasionally I'll get inspired to click it on. This is more for gigs like the Stu Ham Band, or the Jane Gedder Premonition with Adam Holtzman. That's a very more prog-based project, and I'll use it there. And then the MXR phaser, that I'll sneak on in certain parts. That's also made by Dunlop, and it's just like the classic one used by Van Halen. And then Dunlop also makes this great volume pedal. And they make the Crybaby, of course, as well. How could I forget? Classic Crybaby wah. So the Crybaby is actually the first thing, and that's off the board. The Dunlop volume pedal. This is a mini one. I have a larger version of the same thing, but I found this one works just fine, and it's better for travel. And I keep these off of the board because for maneuvering with them, it's just much easier. If they're on the board, it's much harder to sort of get a good angle. And this finally is the Ditto Looper X2 by TC Electronics. I use this in the song Veritas, but I've also done performances where I'll use this as my band, basically. When I was at NAMM, I did a bunch of solo performances and use this. And it's just the highest. I've tried a few different loopers. This is the highest quality. It's the most user-friendly, and I'm a big fan of it. And when I used other loopers, the signal would get lost, and it was hard for the drummer to keep track of what was going on. With this, it's very clear. So I'm really excited about this one, and that brings us back to the amp, which we've looked at. And the cables are mostly by Planet Waves. There's just a couple exceptions, and it just depends on the. I choose the cables that are most likely to stay in, and somehow with different pedals and different brands, you can make better connections. But anyway, this is it, and I'll just add that when I play larger gigs, rock metal gigs with Metal Allegiance and obviously Testament. Metal Allegiance, I will actually bring the whole pedal board, because we'll occasionally pay tribute to somebody like Van Halen, and I need to get that sound. And but with Testament, we're using Kemper preamps. So the Kemper has most of the sounds built in. However, I do use this Tube Dreamer by Jam Pedals, and the Distillery by Tone Concepts. And that's it.